Okay, Joe, first of all, welcome to Tolmin. It's your second time in Slovenia, but the first time in Tolmin. But before going to tonight's show, I'd like to go back basically to ask you what you've been up to since the release of your latest LP, because it's been an important step in your career. So yeah, what's been going on in the past few months?
I spent a lot of time working on that record, and there's other things around it, so it felt like a big project. And so since then I've been doing not so much, a few things, but honestly, with the schedule I have, DJing, even if I'm not focusing like my studio energy on something very particular, life still feels quite busy.
This is something I try to ask all DJs when I have the chance to speak about this. I really wonder how you basically find time to be creative, especially with this schedule, which is really filled with, like, you have full weekends with gigs. So do you have a 9 to 5 schedule when you're working on your stuff, or is it more like free floating for you?
I am a routine bunny. I get up fairly early every day and I go to the studio and I work and I finish at like 5, boom, done, go home, cook dinner. That is the thing that kind of, it's very good, I think, for your mental health and just your general, the job of touring is, the creativity of it is really like a very small percentage of it. Mm-hmm. So for me, like, as someone who lives through that side of me, that part of my brain and that way of interacting with the world, it's super important to have most of the week, just being in the studio, coming up with ideas, experimenting, messing about, maybe doing something very, very serious and focusing on a project, but whatever, I'm there using that part of my brain.
One thing I really wanted to ask you this, because you have a really vast discography and it's really diverse, but you never had a live set so far. So why is that so? Or have you ever considered this idea, especially, for example, for your latest album, which could live in a live context? Have you ever considered these ideas, or is it something that's not really that exciting for you?
I mean, I have some kind of jokey answers, but it's a serious question, so I'm going to give you a serious answer.
No, but it's sorry to interrupt you, but because it's almost like a stepping stone in the career of a producer to have like this.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not so interested in a career in that sense.
Okay.
Like, of course, yes, if I wanted to be a bigger artist, then I would do that. But that doesn't interest me so much. And for me, one of my priorities is to protect the relationship I have with writing music. I never want to be in the studio thinking I need to write something for my career. I need to write a banger, or I need to write something, that ticks a box to hit an audience or to blow up, or that doesn't interest me with music. I like to just write as a kind of means of getting out kind of feelings, and I'm a listener, I'm a fan of music, and I go home and I listen to music in the evenings, and I want to write music that I want to listen to. And I've never been that interested in listening to that kind of music. And so you need to kind of know that about me, I think, to understand why I'm not someone who sees the necessity of doing a live set. And I think if I was to do a live set, it wouldn't really be in a club environment. I would do what you say, which is, the albums I write, which are quite acoustic, I would, present something where I'm playing an instrument and I'm with a few other people that are playing an instrument at 7 p.m. in a quiet setting for a small audience, and quite a kind of intimate, musical experience in that sense. And I love DJing, and I want to keep that separate, and I want my DJ career to exist on its own terms. So that's why I think the separation is important.
Okay, but on the other hand, you have this other moniker, Ondo Fudd. And to be honest, like, for me, it was one of the early entry point for me into like the so-called left field 2010s club music. So I wanted to ask you about your relationship with club music as a producer right now, and also with this other moniker. Like, is it a dormant one, or do you have like?
No. I mean, there's
Do
nothing.
you have like stuff sitting on your hard disk right now?
Yeah, I still, when I'm in the studio, it's not like I have a set agenda of what I want to write. I love writing stuff that's engineered for the club, and it's just, wherever my head is, this is kind of what starts to come out, and then I follow it and whatever. I just don't want the external pressures of like, this is what you need to be doing now. That is something I reject. So for me, Ondo Fudd is alive and well, on holiday. It's nice. It was a one-way ticket, but they'll buy a return flight when the time is right.
Mm. Okay, what about your the label you run with Paris? Can you feel the sun? Like, what's your approach? Is it like more of a, so to say, family affair, or like what's your curatorial approach when it comes to the label? Do you have like a big vision, like a long-term vision, or it's like more go with the flow?
The vision is
because you just have like a new record.
It's not really there. I mean, we have a new record out. Shout out Peach. Great DJ.
I just played her track
producer.
an hour ago. So.
Of course you did. Fantastic. Amazing. Thank you. Yes, we have very little vision. It came about kind of by accident. We had made some music together. We put it out because it made sense. And then, we did some of our solo things on the label. And the label, if it wasn't something I ever really wanted to do. So I'm quite happy if it's going to have a life, that life is just lived, month to month with whatever, comes along or we feel or whatever.
Okay, now let's move to your like DJ philosophy, so to say. But I'm really interested in like I do think that you're someone who is quite eloquent when it comes to describing your art. Or I mean, that's my feeling. I don't know, like, what's your take on this? But one of my early introductions to your music was the Fabric set, which was something special for me, like in that moment in 2017. And I wanted to ask you, like, would you say that your approach to DJing and also like to selection has changed throughout the years, or there's like a specific core? I don't know. I mean, I really want to like know your take on how would you describe your sound, because you could say it's eclectic, but it's much more than this. So like, do you think a lot about this, or does it come just naturally?
I don't really think about it at all. I mean, in the past, I would have said I'm a techno DJ because techno was a very expansive genre. But, in the years more recently, techno has become a narrower genre. And the people into it, a certain kind of techno, have become, I think, a little bit more rigid in how they perceive the genres. And I'm not here to... I don't really care what people think anything is, but I think if I wanted to say to someone that didn't know what I do but wanted to know what I do, I probably wouldn't use that descriptor now because they might have other ideas about that. So for me, it's maybe more accurate to say I'm more of a kind of a house DJ these days, but I'm from the UK, so that can involve. For me, I like whatever genre I'm playing most of, to be able to show that all music is connected. Like no music should be made in a vacuum. The web of how music relates to each other is infinite and complex, and that's inspiring to me. So I have to just be honest about that. That's what music is.
I have a provocative question, but would you say that, I mean, there are, I think, so many DJs out there playing basically great techno and house, but they never say they are tech house DJ.
So for sure, 100%. I'm a tech house DJ.
I mean, that's something I feel that like maybe in the past decade there was like this negative connotation related to tech house, but on the other hand, I think this is basically the core of what most DJs play nowadays.
I'm old enough to have gone to the End a lot in London and grown up with a generation of UK DJs who were playing tech house in a very positive sense of the word. I've never really, obviously there's, every genre now is so big that there's many sides to it. I also don't really care if people want to say, oh, you know, he's that or you're that. They're that. I don't care. Like, for me, there are nights where I really dial into that stuff, and there are nights where I'm not really connected to it at all, and I'm, you know, maybe playing some jungle and some slow stuff, and you know, I'm fortunate in that I feel like I try and cultivate an audience that, you know, at least for half of my gigs, I feel like I can take in different directions, and I feel some freedom with.
This is a more maybe general question, but like you've been playing around for at least for the past decade, and there's been a so-called vibe shift. You know, it's a cool word to use nowadays, but there's been a vibe shift like since COVID ended. And would you maybe say this is also a more provocative question, but like my personal take is that maybe people used to be a little bit more daring due to a lesser impact social media used to have back then. Would you say it's that case? Or, I mean, I do feel that most, even bigger DJs who used to play more adventurously are maybe playing it more safe nowadays due to the whole industry complex, so to say, or I don't know.
Yes, I think, you know, there is some truth in what you're saying. I think there are also super adventurous DJs out there. And I think a lot of this stuff is, again, to do with, you know, career ambitions and security and economic factors. And, you know, there are cynical reasons for it, and there are sad, kind of hard economic reasons for it. And there's also, you know, like you have mentioned, maybe things to do with how you communicate what you do, and feeling like that needs to be more streamlined in a way, and sharper and not quite so messy. And I was always a fan of, you know, the unexpected being a thing in clubs, you know, and these dance floor spaces we have. That is, you know, a part of the magic for me. Other people don't care so much, but.
Okay, so you also have like this approach for tonight's set, because you're playing in an hour, basically?
Yeah, I'm playing very soon, and I really, I don't know. I always...
Sorry, is it like, do you usually like check out the venue or like the stage to kind of get
I just
an
had
idea
a walk
for the
around
vibe?
the site, and so that's important, just to see like, oh, what might I play tonight? What are other people playing? What's the crowd like? And then, you know, we'll set off, and I'll try and like establish something in my head, and then see how far we either dial into that or go other places. We'll see. Yeah.
Okay. I'm really looking forward to see where you're going to take us in an hour or so. So
Wow.
Thanks for taking your time, Joe.
I hope I live up to expectation.
Yeah, you sure will.
Thank you.
Joe.
Thank you so much.
Oh.